Before we start this podcast, I'd like to give a shout out to my sponsor, Jalen Abrams. You can check him out on www.jelanabrams.com. He makes beats and he does anything with music. Also, if you'd like to contact me, my information is on richardjowers.com. That's Richard, JOWERS.com, or Jowers, WBB, on any social media platform. Thank you. Greetings. My name is Richard Jowers, and this is my podcast. We will talk to and learn about some very interesting people. Our topics will mostly be about women's basketball, sports, finances, and life in general. Thank you for listening to my podcast, and here we go. We are here with one of the best coaches from one of the best exposure programs in the country with Bob DIX and the Fairfax Stars. They have put out WNBA players, college All-Americans, players that have gone on to play in the Olympics. Also, I would like to say sorry for having technical difficulties earlier. Coach DIX, how are you?
I'm doing terrific, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you today.
Yes, sir. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened, but we're going to try this again. So let's get right into this thing. Coach, what brought you to women's basketball?
So thank you again for having me today. I actually have been coaching young people in one sport or another for a long period of time, and I coached boys for a period of time until Aggie McCormick decided that she wanted to start a program for boys and girls in the DMV to provide more young people an opportunity to compete at the AAU/showcase travel level of basketball. I was very fortunate to be a part of that with her at the time that was launched, and have been coaching on the girls' side of the program ever since it began in 1996. I found it to be a very rewarding opportunity to engage in teaching and coaching and trying to mentor young women in this game of basketball.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about the Fairfax Stars?
Yes, I'm happy to. We are an all-volunteer-based program. We have boys and girls teams, and we have since the very beginning. I think it's fair to say that our girls teams have probably had a little bit more success at the national level than what our boys teams have had, but we have had some great boys teams over the years, continue to today, and some tremendous players that have come out of the boys side of our program as well. We began very early, at 8 years of age and all the way through high school juniors. I think what's a little different for our program is that we really focus, and have since day one, on skill development and teaching and knowledge of the game. Not just how to run a pick and roll, but what are you trying to accomplish when you run a pick and roll? What's the objective? So that our players can recognize where do they get their points no matter what defense that they see. How do they understand the game to be able to make the necessary adjustments to be successful on the court at all times? And we have done that. We do a lot of training. We train in the off season. We provide a lot of skill development opportunities throughout our age group so that we work really hard to prepare our players that aspire to compete at the next level. And I think that has served us and the community that we're a part of very well over the years.
Okay, thanks for that. And can you tell me, like I said, you guys have a first class organization, but can you tell me some of the issues that you see in women's basketball?
So women's basketball continues to evolve. I would say that from the time we began this, there are a lot more programs, a lot more teams. That has a couple of different pieces to it, but what I think it really means is it provides more opportunities for more young people to compete at this level. And I salute and celebrate all of those who volunteer their time to teach and provide those opportunities for young people to compete at the showcase travel level. I think that the game has grown both in participation and in popularity. And I certainly believe that the skill level of the athletes continues to evolve and improve. And frankly, the players that we've been blessed and fortunate enough to have in our program can flat out play. I think the evidence is that we have had a lot of players have the opportunity to go on and compete at the collegiate level. And even today, we still have, I think, 9 or 10 of our former players playing in the WNBA actively, and several more playing on teams overseas professionally.
Okay. Yeah, you guys have definitely had All-Americans, WNBA players, players that have played in the Olympics, and just that they just definitely represent you represent the Fairfax Stars. And with that said, can you kind of talk to me about how do you talk to girls about choosing a school? Because you had girls play at all different levels and actually continue their professional careers as well. So can you give me an idea of how you talk to the girls about choosing schools?
Thank you. And that's been part of the blessing that I've had to work with so many families over the years as they go through that process and make that choice. And I think it's really important to do the background work and the due diligence to try and make sure it's a good fit when the final decision is made and that it's an informed decision. So what I always suggest to the players and the parents in beginning the first meeting that we get together is that they put a matrix together that identifies the priorities that are important to that athlete in making that selection process. For example, we always talk about this, is does the school that you're interested in or that is interested in you have the curriculum that you want to study to prepare you for life after basketball? A lot of young people don't believe there is life after basketball, but in fact there is, and you need to prepare for that. So do they have the curriculum? Do you have a preference of a big school or a small school? Do you have a geography preference? Some players like to be close enough that family members can come and watch them play. For other players, that's not necessarily as important. Do you have a climate preference? Do you like cold weather or warm weather, beach, skiing, east, west? Are any of those kinds of elements important to you? And build out the matrix. I also recommend that for some, it's important to take a look at the roster of the schools that you're considering. For example, did they just recruit 3 players the year before that played the same position? Is that an issue for you, or you don't see that as a challenge? You're going to go in and compete, and you'll earn your time, and you accept that challenge. These are all elements that I believe are important to be a part of the consideration in making an informed decision in making a college choice. The other thing is, I think it's important to realize that some players always get hung up on playing at the Division I level or the BCS level. What I think that players, and I try to remind them of this as well as their parents, there's a very limited number of young players that get the opportunity to play at the collegiate level at any level. And to have the chance to do what you love, get a great education, and in many cases have someone pay for that is a blessing, and you should keep an open mind as to where those opportunities best fit your needs in preparing you for your future after basketball.
Also, you told me earlier about how the Fairfax Stars definitely help out kids that have not been financially able enough to be able to pay their fees or dues. Can you speak on that, and can you also speak on some of your past players coaching with you guys and going on into coaching?
One of the tenets that we had when Aggie started this program was that we were going to make sure to the best of our ability that no player was ever precluded from the opportunity to participate based on economic issues. And we have over the years worked to meet that obligation. We've run golf tournaments, we've done other types of events to create and establish a scholarship fund to try and help support families that maybe would be challenged in that regard, and we're very proud of that fact. It's also fair to say that in cases over the years that we've been successful in helping young players get to college that perhaps might not have otherwise had that opportunity, and we're very proud of that as well. It's part of what we do, and as volunteers who are out here trying to give back to the community, it really is important to us to be able to be sure that everyone has that opportunity if that's what they want, to the extent that that is possible. we work very hard on that, Richard.
Definitely. Okay, and I know you told me earlier about how you guys have been blessed to have many players come back and coach with the Fairfax Stars, and you talked about the open door policy, about how those kids can also come back and help the new kids out. So I think that's definitely something that's great that you guys do there at Fairfax Stars.
If you use me as an example, if I could just inject, what I'm very happy about is this season just completed was the 8th consecutive year that I've had at least one of my former players on the bench with me as an assistant coach. We have other former players that are coaching in AAU and travel basketball with Fairfax Stars and with other programs. We also have many of our former players that are now coaching at the high school level. And what I'm really excited about, and why I have so much fun in July especially, is because I get to see so many of our former players that are now coaching at the collegiate level, that have decided to make a career out of trying to help young student athletes be successful in this game. And the love that's shown there, and the willingness of young people to come back and share their own knowledge, their own experiences with those that are coming up right now, is just rewarding beyond words. I think it's just so much fun to see that happening, and the interaction, and it makes us feel really good about how we run this program.
That's great. And that kind of goes into my next question. Can you give me a couple of characteristics of a good basketball player from your perspective?
So as we look at players and evaluate players and how we try and prepare players, I think there are some ingredients that are really, really important. I think that being respectful to your coaches, to your teammates, to those around you that are trying to help you be successful is really important. I think being appreciative of the opportunity, and particularly for parents and family members that take you to and from practice and provide you the opportunity to participate in a team sport. Being a great teammate is absolutely essential. Being willing to work hard and push yourself outside of your comfort zone to achieve the highest level of accomplishment that you are capable of. And why those are so important is because this, for us, for me personally, and for Aggie, and for many of us, this is an opportunity to teach young people how to compete in the game of life. It isn't just about basketball. Basketball and sports are a conduit to prepare young people to learn how to compete in the game of life, how to deal with disappointment, how to deal with failure, how to deal with the challenges at any type of atmosphere around other people is going to present you, how to deal with adversity. All of that prepares you to compete for what's after sports, and how to compete in the game of life, in an employment environment, in a personal relationship. This is so important, and so that's the characteristics that we look for in players, and that's what we try and teach as we prepare these players to compete in the game of life.
Okay, great. I have a kind of a fun question I'd like to ask coaches. So, if you had a last second shot, and you had either a former, current, or player that could take a last shot. So they're taking a last shot, and it's in the championship game situation. What players would you choose, and why?
So I'm going to give you a couple of examples very quickly off the top of my head, because that's such a great question, and there could be many of them that could fit that, but a couple come to my head very quickly, and I'll just talk about them. The first that comes to my mind is a young player who is still playing professionally for the Connecticut Sun, an all-star with the Connecticut Sun. Her name is Jasmine Thomas. She was an All-American at Duke. She was a McDonald's High School All-American, and a 4-time Northern Region Player of the Year here in the DMV. She is one of the smartest, most savvy players that we've ever had the opportunity to coach, and I would trust her with that. A second would be a young woman who's still playing collegiately at Stanford University. Her name is Marta Sneezek. You may have seen her play, but she has just got a brilliance about her in terms of basketball IQ, and she has got the courage and the willingness to take that shot. The third would be a player who's a rising sophomore at University of Miami. Her name is Micaiah Gray. She has a toughness, and she's a player that wants the ball in her hands at crunch time. She wants to take that last shot. She doesn't run from that opportunity, and when she played for me, she was successful in that a couple times for us. And the final one I would say is a current player that I had the opportunity to have on our team this year, a young player by the name of AZ Fudd, who I know many people have heard about. But she has a poise and a maturity about her, and also a courage and determination to say, I want the ball in that situation. I want to take that shot.
Okay. Thank you, Coach. Sorry about the technical difficulties earlier, but again, first class organization, first class guy. Thank you for talking to me today, and just have a great day, man. And I definitely wish the Fairfax Stars the best, man.
I am so honored to have had the opportunity to be a part of this conversation discussion with you. Thank you for inviting me, and best wishes to you as well. And keep doing what you do to help make this game great and all these young people have the opportunity to be successful. Thank you.
Okay. Have a great afternoon.
Bye-bye.